Hello, everyone. My name is Louise Charette. I'm from Canada, and I recently did the 8-hour trial of the medbed. I was quite astonished when I came across that on the internet because I've heard of medbeds for many, many years, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll die before they're rolled out and put into practice and function all over the world. So when I read more about it, I thought, wow, virtual quantum energy, that is immediate. There's no need for machines or anything. And I thought, that's a much better way. So I did it during the day because I wanted to be very conscious during the whole time. And at first, I didn't feel a whole lot of waves and energies, but just within the first 15 minutes, I started to feel sort of a glow all over my body and especially around my face. And I thought, well, that's quite pleasant because it's like I was wrapped into an energetic uh, cocoon, but very soft and very gentle. So my list of demands was quite long. I started with clearing and detoxifying my pineal gland, all of my glands, thymus, thalamus, hypothalamus, whatever, and asked to open my third eye. Then I went on to the more restrictive um, sort of conditions I have. I was diagnosed with COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, in 2008. So that's a long time ago. And this is like a degenerative disease that does not improve and for which they say has no cure. So you eventually end up at the end of your breath very gradually. So I've been using these inhalers for years, and I use them some days 6, 7 times a day, and just so I could clear the phlegm that accumulates in the lungs. So I asked the machine to scan my lungs and restore and heal and clear, detox, whatever word we want to use, my lungs. And then I went on to ask to clear and detox my lymphatic system. Then I have another problem that's been limiting my movement. I have a bit of a sciatic nerve problem. As soon as I walk for 120 steps, 150 steps, I get a cramp in my calf, and then the leg goes limp. I literally have to uh, limp right back to the car. Just doing my grocery shopping for a few items, sometimes I would limp all the way back to my car. So that's quite limiting because that means I can't even go around the block for a walk. So it's very limiting. And so I asked the medbed to look after that. And then I thought, well, we're at it. Um, I have very, very dry skin. And every time I take my clothes off, flakes of skin flies all over the place. So I asked the medbed to look after and restore the suppleness and the softness and the tonus of my skin. So for the 8 hours, um, besides that very wonderful glow I felt all around, there was just one very concrete other thing that I felt was that for some time I could actually see my third eye. It was like a wonderful, soft, white light in the middle of my forehead that would sort of grow a little and disappear and then come back and disappear. And I thought, wow, that's the first time I see my third eye. And I do meditate quite often and never had such an appearance in my forehead. So that was wonderful. And then I waited for many days before I do my report because I wanted to see. I've had some energetic work done over the years, and sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 days before you actually notice the changes. So, as far as the lungs are concerned, I've felt that there was a significant improvement. In the morning, I have to clear my lungs as soon as I get up. I have to cough up and clear the mucus that accumulated during the night. And this week, I've felt that it was a few mornings where I didn't have any mucus accumulation in my lungs. And I thought, wow, that's very interesting. And then during the day, um, I used my inhalers much less often than I would usually do. And I don't use them if I don't need them. So I noticed a much an improvement that I didn't need them as often. So then another thing that I noticed was that when I went grocery shopping this week, I was able to do my shopping and come back to my car, and I could feel something in my leg, something in my calf, but it never went to the point of producing a cramp where I would have to limp back to the car. So that was also an improvement, which is wonderful. And then I've noticed that yesterday um, I have very dry skin, and I asked the bed to look after that. And for years, I've had to put cream and stuff every time I shower and every day. And I thought, oh, forget about it. Let's just live with it. And so this morning, I took um, my leggings. I wear leggings, and when I take them off, uh, they're full of flakes. They're full of skin flakes. And this morning there was hardly any, and I thought, and I looked at my legs, and uh, my legs were rather shiny rather than matte because there's so many dry skin flakes all over, and especially my forearms and even my face. I would rub my hands on my face and I would see some flakes. And today, nothing, no flakes. And I thought, wow, that is quite the improvement. So, all in all, I think this technology is quite astonishing. And I am definitely thinking of pursuing this and applying for the long-term medical research that they want to do, because with the lung condition I have, um, mm, you might say the end of my years is not going to be very pleasant. So I certainly would like to see big improvements, if not fully recover from that. So there, that is my very optimistic view of the future through this technology. And I do want to thank the company for offering this for free. My means are very small. I'm retired, just on government pension plan, and I certainly could not afford any of this if it was if I had to pay for it. So, from my heart, I thank you all for sharing this technology with the world, and I think we're headed for much better days. Thank you all. From Canada, blessings.